really, shouldn't they? And
Yes,
not really.
we shouldn't ever see them again.
No.
Never again.
No,
Because, Nick Haywood. Now, I can't remember if I've talked about my Arran Jumper on the podcast. Have I ever talked about that, Nikki?
I don't think you've blessed us with that particular episode of your life yet.
I don't know whether there's even time. Can I talk about my Arran Jumper? Because it did affect me for a long time. I'm desperate. Everybody at school had an Arran Jumper just like Nick Haywood. And, you know, you took it into your jeans, don't you, in the 80s, or you did in the 80s. And all I wanted out of life was an Arran Jumper. And my great aunt Betty could knit really well, so she was round the house one day and she said, I'll knit you an Arran Jumper. So I said, oh, would you really? Because nobody was going to buy me one, so it was my only chance really. So she went away, and for months I was waiting and waiting for this Arran Jumper. And one day she phoned up and she says, I've done it. I've done your jumper. It's finished. I'll pop brown with it. And I was like, oh. So I put my bleached out jeans on, ready for this Arran Jumper, so that I could become Nick Haywood. And she turned up. She says, I know everybody's got a cream one.
Oh no!
And this is where it starts going downhill a little bit. She says, but you don't want to be the same as everyone else, do you? And I'm like, I'm 14 years old. My only ambition in life is to be the same as everybody else. So she says, I've done it in orange.
Oh no!
So she knitted this jumper in orange. And, you know, looking back on it, the skill involved in doing that Arran knitting was fantastic. And I was really lovely to her about it. But I went home and I'm like, I've got an orange Arran jumper. How am I ever? And I'd told everyone at school I was getting this jumper and everything, and I had to tell them that she'd not finished it for years and years and years. Anyway, I never wore it because it was orange, clearly. And I was so disappointed because I never ever had an Arran jumper. I've never had one in my life now because it's over. So a couple of years later, she said to me, I don't see you in your Arran jumper. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, I've grown out of it. Oh, right, well, don't worry about it. Give it me back. No, it's worse than that. It's worse. Give it me back. So I gave it her, and I was so relieved. I mean, she's dead now, bless her, so she can't listen to the podcast, thank God. But so I was quite relieved that I no longer owned this guilt-ridden jumper that was in my wardrobe that my poor aunt had spent months and months creating for me. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, she turns up. I've got your jumper. And I said, yeah, oh, well, that's lovely of you. It doesn't fit me. No, I've extended the arms and the body. And she'd extended it. She says, obviously, I've no orange wool left, but I've extended it in brown. And by then I was fully grown, and I never grew out of that jumper. And I've never quite got over... No, I've got rid of it. I think I must have accidentally left it behind when I moved house once. But yeah, honestly, the guilt of that jumper has never left me because I never once wore it. And I bet about 3 years worth of work went into it. But it was bright orange with a brown extended arms and brown thing round my waist. It was awful.
Her.
Anyway, jumper or cardi then?
Oh, it's got to be a cardi.
Definitely after
it's
that.
Now.
I'm traumatised myself now.